No one wanted the thick alien virgin. Until Earth's mightiest mechanic showed up, the lava-lit arena pulsed with heat, a guttural roar from the gathered zealoth filling Kale's ears. He was on his knees, hands bound behind him, the stench of mineral dust and alien sweat thick in the air. A cage. He'd woken up in a goddamn cage after his last scavenging run went south. Some kind of sacred trial, they'd called it, but it looked an awful lot like he was about to become an appetizer. His captor, the Xylith warrior, stood over him, a silhouette of impossible curves against the fiery backdrop. Her skin, a mosaic of shifting obsidian and jade scales, shimmered with an inner light that made his eyes ache. Tall. Too tall. She wasn't just thick. She was a walking weapon, every muscle defined under that exotic hide. She'd dragged him here, her grip like steel, after he'd tried to swipe a crystal from what he thought was an abandoned temple. Wrong. Very wrong. She was their heir apparent, apparently, and he was her new challenge. "Rise, human," her voice rumbled, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated in his chest. It wasn't a question. Her bioluminescent eyes, like twin pools of molten gold, bored into him. "The elders demand you stand or fall. Your choice determines the blood spilled this cycle." Kale snorted, spitting a fleck of dust. "Blood spilled? You planning on a dinner and a show, princess?" "Because I wasn't told to bring a fork." He tried to flex his wrists against the binds. Useless. They were some kind of bio-cable tightening with every twitch. "What exactly is the trial anyway? Am I supposed to sing for my supper? Because I got a pretty decent rendition of Space Oddity if you're into vintage Terran folk ballads." Her lips, a startling slash of violet, tightened. "Blasphemy. Your tongue is a venomous viper. This is the rite of claiming. You are the sacrifice." She gestured to the surrounding crowd. Figures hulking and silent, their own scales gleaming, watched with predatory intensity. They weren't just curious. They were hungry, or bored, or both. Kyle couldn't tell the difference with these freaks. Sacrifice for what? Am I supposed to fertilize your ancient lava pits with my magnificent genes? Kale grinned, a raw, defiant flash of teeth. He was a scavenger. He knew how to talk his way out of trouble, or at least distract long enough to find an opening. This warrior, though, she looked like she ate sarcasm for breakfast. She had him by the throat, metaphorically, and probably literally soon enough. His internal alarm bells were screaming. This wasn't some simple capture. This felt ritualistic, and knowing his luck, ritualistic usually meant painful and humiliating. He felt a bead of sweat trickle down his temple, not just from the heat, but from the sudden, terrifying realization that this trial was probably not about his mechanical skills. Xylos's golden eyes narrowed, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. "Your wit is a dull blade, human. It will not cut through the traditions of the Xylith." She took a step closer, and Kale involuntarily tensed, every instinct screaming at him to prepare for impact. The air crackled around her, not just heat but a dense, living energy that pushed down on him. She smelled of ozone, mineral, and something uniquely, powerfully alien that made his primitive brain short-circuit for a second. It was unsettling. It was alluring. It was goddamn terrifying. He swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. "Traditions, huh? So, no singing. Just pain then." He forced a smirk. "Well, at least get a good view. I put on a hell of a show." He knew he was baiting her, pushing her. It was his only defense. If she was angry, she wasn't thinking straight. If she was amused, he might have a chance to slip free. He just had to figure out what amused these multi-eyed, scale-skinned, glow-in-the-dark freaks. And fast. The roar of the crowd intensified, a low thrum that vibrated through the very ground. He could feel the eyes of the Elder Council, unseen but keenly felt, judging him, judging Xylos. He had a bad feeling about this. A very, very bad feeling. This warrior wasn't just big and strong. She was radiating something ancient, powerful, and utterly unyielding. He was a smartass, not a goddamn sacrifice. He needed to get out. He had to get out. The thought clawed at him, a desperate, animalistic urge. He just needed one opening. One. And he'd be gone, he hoped. "Silence, outsider," Xylos commanded, her voice cutting through the arena's hum. She reached out, her scaled fingers surprisingly deft, and traced a line down Kale's jaw. The touch sent a strange tingle through him, not entirely unpleasant, which pissed him off more than anything. He flinched, trying to pull away, but her grip was instant, firm, pinning his head. You speak of pain as if it is a singular entity. For the Zealoth, pain is a gateway, a test of will. And sometimes, her golden eyes gleamed with a predatory light, a prelude to unification. Her thumb brushed over his lips, a surprisingly intimate gesture that made Kale's breath hitch. Your species, so fragile, so loud, so soft. She leaned closer, her alien scent overwhelming, a heady mix of rock and exotic musk. Tell me, human, do you bleed like the others, or will you break before the claiming begins? Her breath was hot against his face. Kale's heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't a fight. This was something else entirely, and he was completely out of his depth. Unification. Lady, I don't unify with anything unless it's got a six-pack of fermented synthale and a working hyperdrive. Kale snapped, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. Her touch, light as it was, felt like a brand. His body was reacting to her, damn it, the primal part of his brain roaring. He hated it, hated that she could do that. He forced himself to look her in the eye, to challenge her. What exactly do you mean by claiming? Because where I come from, claiming usually involves a piece of paper and a whole lot of lawyers, not whatever this is. He gestured vaguely at the arena, the elders, her imposing form. Her grip tightened. He could feel the slight abrasion of her scales against his skin. This wasn't good. This was very, very not good. He needed to find his escape. He needed to find it now. Xylos pulled back, her eyes still locked on his, a smirk playing on her lips. Lawyers? Is that a form of combat on your world? A verbal duel, perhaps? She laughed, a low, throaty sound that resonated through the arena. The sound rippled through the gathered Xylath, a murmur of approval. No, human. Our claiming is far more direct. She let go of his face, and Kyle immediately sucked in a deep breath, trying to clear the fog from his head. You are here because the prophecies spoke of an outsider, one who would challenge the traditions, and, through his defiance, bring forth a new cycle of power. My elders, she gestured with a flick of her wrist towards the unseen council, believe you are this outsider, and I am charged with proving it. Her gaze swept over him, slow and deliberate, making him feel exposed. A smart-ass scavenger, they said, weak, easily broken. But your eyes, they hold fire. We shall see if it is enough. She turned her back to him and strode towards a massive obsidian gate at the far end of the arena. Follow, human. The rite begins with confinement and observation. Kyle watched her go, a knot of dread twisting in his gut. Confinement. Observation. That sounded like a really bad dating app description for a horror film. He struggled against his binds again, testing them. Still no give. Oh, joy, he muttered. Just what I wanted. A sexy alien staring at me while I stew in my own juices. He felt a rough shove from behind. A hulking Sealith guard, silent as death, had appeared. The guard yanked his bonds, forcing him to stumble forward, following Xylos through the gate. The darkness beyond swallowed them, the cheers of the arena fading into a distant echo. The air grew heavy, damp, and the faint scent of something metallic and ancient filled his nostrils. He was being led to his doom. Or maybe, just maybe, his destiny. He just hoped it didn't involve too many pointy bits. The obsidian gate hissed shut behind them, plunging Kale into near-total darkness. Only the faint, almost imperceptible glow from Xylos's scales provided any light. The guard shoved him again, propelling him down a narrow, winding passage. The walls were rough, unworked stone, damp with condensation. The air was thick, heavy, and smelled like wet earth and something acrid he couldn't quite place. This was no ordinary prison cell. This was a tomb, or a prelude to one. Xylos's voice cut through the silence. This is the veins of the mother. Here, distractions are shed, truths are laid bare. You will remain here, human, until your defiance is either broken or forged into something worthy. Worthy of what exactly? A participation trophy? Kale quipped, trying to sound bored, but his heart was pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The darkness was disorienting. He couldn't see the guard. but he felt the pressure of its presence behind him. He couldn't see Xylos either, only her faint, ethereal glow moving ahead. Look, I'm a mechanic, not some prophet. My biggest prophecy involves whether my ship's hyperdrive coils are going to crap out on the next jump. I don't do destiny. Xylos stopped abruptly. Kael, still pushed by the unseen guard, stumbled into her back. The impact was like hitting a wall of living stone. He grunted, rubbing his nose. Ow. Little warning next time, huh? You are insolent, she stated, turning slowly. Her bioluminescence intensified for a moment, illuminating a small, circular chamber. The walls here were polished, reflecting her light like a kaleidoscope. In the center was a raised stone slab, not unlike an altar. Insolence will not serve you here, outsider. This space is designed to strip you of your pretense. Her golden eyes glinted in the dim light. You speak of a ship. You are a mechanic. Does your craft mend the broken spirit as well as the broken machine? Spirit. Lady, I fix engines, not souls. And right now my spirit is mostly screaming for a hot meal and to not be tied up in some alien basement, Kael retorted. He eyed the slab. It looked suspiciously uncomfortable. So, this is the confinement. Do I get a pillow? Maybe a blanket? Or am I just supposed to chill on the cold rock while you observe? He tried to inject as much disdain as possible into his voice. This whole thing was a bad joke. A very, very bad joke. Xylos walked around him, her gaze lingering on his bound hands, then his face. This chamber is heated by the mother's molten heart. The rock will warm. As for comfort, the Gylith finds strength in discomfort. It hones the will. She stopped directly in front of him, her body radiating heat. And yes, I will observe. Every twitch, every breath, every moment of your struggle against the inevitable. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his temple, then tracing the line of his jaw. Her touch was unsettlingly intimate, electric. Your species. You value comfort over power. We value power over all. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a low hum that was almost a purr. Tell me, human, what is comfort to you in this moment? Kael swallowed, his gaze darting to her lips, then back to her eyes. The heat from her body was intense, making his skin prickle. Comfort? Right now, comfort would be a hot shower, a cold beer, and not having an 8-foot-tall warrior goddess staring at me like I'm a particularly intriguing insect specimen. He tried to pull back, but her presence was overwhelming. And for the record, I don't struggle against the inevitable. I piss on the inevitable and then find a way to make it regret it. So you're gonna be observing for a while, princess. He held her gaze, refusing to break eye contact despite the tremor in his hands. Her eyes, those hypnotic golden pools, seemed to probe at something deep inside him. It was a power struggle, and he was losing, fast. But he wouldn't show it. Not yet. Xylos's lips twitched, a fleeting expression that might have been amusement. Piss? Is that a ritual of defiance on your world? A challenge? She tilted her head, a strange, almost innocent curiosity in her eyes. You wish to piss on my inevitable. That is a bold declaration, outsider. A very bold declaration indeed. But it would violate the sacred space of the mother. She looked down at his crotch, then back up to his face, a slow, deliberate assessment that made Kael's blood run cold. Oh, for fuck's sake. She actually thought he was serious. Awkward. Very awkward. He could feel the blush rising on his neck. No, it's an expression. A figure of speech. Kael stammered, feeling his face flush. It means I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna resist. I'm not giving up without a goddamn struggle. It's not about bodily fluids, okay? He wanted to kick himself. Idiot. He'd walked right into that one. She was enjoying this. He could see it in the slight upturn of her lips, the glint in her golden eyes. This alien was messing with him, playing him like a cheap synth guitar. Xylos's low hum filled the chamber again, almost a laugh. Ah, figure of speech. Your language is inefficient, too many layers of meaning. Ours is direct, precise. When we say unite, we mean unite. When we say claim, we mean claim. Her gaze lingered on his mouth. And when we say take, we mean to possess. Completely. She stepped back then, her form dissolving into the shadows at the edges of the chamber. The Zealith guard, silent as ever, shoved Kael towards the stone slab. Rest, human. The Elder Council observes your struggle even now. Prepare for the next phase. It begins when the mother's heart beats fastest. Kyle, grumbling profanities under his breath, was forced onto the slab. The stone was cool at first, then slowly, undeniably began to warm, radiating a deep, resonant heat. It wasn't uncomfortable exactly, but it was certainly alien. He lay there staring into the flickering darkness, listening to the drip of water and the distant thrumming of the lava, and the barely audible, almost psychic presence of Xylos, observing. He felt like a lab rat, a very pissed-off, very tied-up lab rat. Great, he muttered to the empty air. Just great. Next phase. Probably involves more glowing freaks and less clothing. Fuck my life. He closed his eyes, trying to block out the weirdness, trying to find a way out of this mess. But even with his eyes shut, he could feel Xylos's golden gaze on him, feel the heat of the chamber, feel the strange, unsettling pull of her presence. This was going to be a long night, or cycle, whatever the hell these aliens called it. Hours bled into an indeterminate time. The heat from the slab permeated Kyle's bones, a soothing warmth that was slowly, insidiously draining his will. He tried to sleep, but Xylos's presence, an invisible hum in the air, kept him on edge. He could feel her watching, every slight shift, every frustrated groan. His attempts to break his bonds had grown feebler, his muscles aching. He knew she was waiting for him to break, waiting for him to concede. Not a chance. He was Kale, the smart-ass scavenger, not some goddamn ritual sacrifice. He had survived worse, probably. Then a low rhythmic thrumming started, vibrating through the stone slab. It was the mother's heart, Xylos had said. It grew louder, faster, a primal drumbeat that resonated deep in his chest. The chamber's light shifted, pulsating with a soft amber glow, revealing Xylos stepping out of the shadows. She moved with a liquid grace, her scales rippling with internal light. She wore less now. Not less as in clothing, but her upper body was adorned with intricate bioluminescent patterns that weren't there before. They pulsed in sync with the thrumming, highlighting the fierce curves of her warrior physique. She looked ancient, dangerous, erotic. The mother awakens, Xylos stated, her voice deeper, more resonant now. And with her, the true trial begins. Your defiance, human. It must be tested, probed, found worthy, or it will be consumed. She stood over him, her shadow engulfing him. He could feel the heat radiating from her, a new kind of heat that had nothing to do with lava and everything to do with her. Consumed, huh? Is that a threat or a promise? Kyle retorted, trying to keep his voice steady. But the thrumming was getting to him, a primal beat that stirred something deep and unsettling within him. Because if it's a promise, you might want to clarify what consumed means. My last experience with alien consumption involved a very aggressive fungus and a week of explosive diarrhea. Not fun. Xylos lowered herself onto the slab beside him, her weight shifting the stone slightly. Her golden eyes, wide and luminous, were fixed on his. Your diarrhea is irrelevant, outsider. Consumption in the right of claiming means the merging of essence, the surrender of the individual will to the collective, the absolute dominance of the claimant over the claimed. Her gaze dropped to his chest, then lower, a slow, deliberate sweep that made his skin prickle. It means the taking, the absorption, the complete assimilation. She reached out, her fingers tracing the line of his arm, then his chest, right over his pounding heart. Her touch sent shivers through him, not just from the cool scales against his heated skin, but from the raw power emanating from her. Absorption? Assimilation? That sounds an awful lot like sex, lady, Kyle managed, his voice a little hoarse. His body was reacting, betraying him. He could feel a primal heat stirring low in his belly. Damn it. And if that's what this trial is, you could have just said so. I mean, a simple, hey, wanna get laid, would have saved us all a lot of time in these ridiculously restrictive bindings. He tried to laugh, but it came out as a nervous cough. This was it. This was the challenge. Xylos leaned closer, her scent filling his nostrils. Ozone, molten rock, and something else, something muskier, more carnal. Sex? Is that what your species calls the sacred act of unification? A casual coupling, without purpose, without will? Her eyes narrowed, a flash of annoyance. Such an inefficient word. Our ritual is not sex as you define it, human. It is the proving, the binding, the transfer of strength. And for the Xylith, sexual victory is the highest form of worth. It proves dominance. It proves power. Her hand moved, her long, scaled fingers exploring the contours of his chest, tracing the taut muscles of his abdomen. You are bound now, yes, but your will is still free. This cannot be. For the claiming to be complete, your will must bend. It must surrender. To mine. Her words were a challenge, but her touch was an invitation. A slow, deliberate assault on his senses. Kyle felt his body respond. A primal surge of heat and raw, desperate craving. He hated it. Hated that she had this effect on him. My will doesn't bend, princess. It breaks things, usually things that are trying to bind me. He tried to shift, to twist, but her hand pressed harder, pinning him. The binds on his wrists felt tighter than ever. This was it, the moment of truth. Or more accurately, the moment of penetration. He could feel the tremor in her hand, a slight vibration that hinted at her own rising excitement. This was a dominance game, and he was the pawn. Then we shall see who breaks, human, Xylos purred, her voice a low rumble in his ear. Her leg, muscled and scaled, shifted, pressing against his hip. The contact was electric, sending a jolt through him. The thrumming of the mother's heart intensified, pounding in sync with his own. He felt the shift, the undeniable change in the air. The trial was no longer an abstract concept. It was here. It was now. And it was going to be very, very physical. He could feel her gaze searing him, demanding. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about raw, animalistic conquest. And he was the one being conquered. He could fight. He could resist. But the primitive part of him, the part that had been starved for human contact, for any contact for so long, was beginning to sing a different tune. A dangerous, forbidden tune. A tune that whispered of surrender. The amber light in the chamber intensified, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. Xylos's body pulsed with her own inner glow, a dazzling array of shifting jade and obsidian. She moved with surprising speed, her hand sliding down his bound arm, her fingers expertly finding the weak point in the bio-cables. With a sharp snap, his wrists were free. Cal gasped, rubbing his chafed skin, staring at her. What the? Your will cannot be truly broken if your body remains constrained, Xylos stated, her voice flat, devoid of emotion, yet her golden eyes burned with an intense, unreadable fire. A true surrender must be given freely, or taken by force, from one who is free to resist. She rose, towering over him, her powerful frame dominating the space. Now, human. The rite of unification demands a contest of strength, a display of dominance. To claim, to be claimed. Cale scrambled up, rubbing his wrists. A contest? You mean like a fight? Because I'm a mechanic, not a soldier, and I don't really fight pretty. He took a defensive stance, eyes darting for an exit, though he knew there was none. I mean, I've seen some bar brawls, but I'm guessing your contests involve less spilled beer and more dismemberment. He watched her carefully. She was giving him a choice, or the illusion of one. Xylos chuckled, a low, guttural sound that vibrated through the chamber. Dismemberment is a consequence, not a goal, outsider. This contest is far more intimate. She lunged, not with a strike, but with a sudden, powerful grapple. Her body slammed into his, driving him back against the cool stone wall. Kyle grunted, the wind knocked out of him. Her arms, thick with muscle, wrapped around him, pinning his arms to his sides. Her scales, surprisingly warm and smooth against his skin, shifted with her movements. He could feel the sheer power in her, overwhelming his smaller human frame. He fought, twisting and struggling, trying to land a knee, an elbow, anything. But she was too strong, too fast. You said intimate, not tackle and pin, Cale gasped, straining against her. Her face was inches from his, her golden eyes blazing. He could feel the rapid thump of her heart against his chest, a powerful feral beat. Her alien scent was intoxicating, dizzying. Intimacy begins with contact, human, she purred, her voice low, husky. Her hips pressed against his, the hard curve of her pelvis leaving no doubt as to her intentions. And escalates through submission. One of her hands slid up his back, her fingers splaying wide, the long, sharp talons tracing patterns on his spine, making him shiver. Fight, Kale. Fight me. For in the fighting, the true strength is revealed, the true surrender earned. He did fight. He bucked and twisted, trying to throw her off, but she was like granite, unmoving. Her strength was incredible. He felt himself weakening, his struggles becoming less effective. The heat in the chamber, the pounding rhythm, her overwhelming presence, it was all combining to erode his resolve. His internal thoughts were a chaotic mix of fear, defiance, and a growing, dangerous arousal. He hated it, hated that his body was betraying him. He could feel her breath on his neck, hot and musky. Her scales, unexpectedly, felt good against his skin. Suddenly, her head dipped, and her lips, soft yet firm, grazed his neck, then his jaw, then his mouth. It wasn't a kiss like any he'd known. It was a claiming, a testing, a forceful assertion of her will. Her tongue, surprisingly soft, traced the line of his lips, then slipped inside, tasting him. Kyle froze, a shock of pure sensation ripping through him. His mind screamed resist, but his body was a traitor. He found himself responding, his own mouth parting slightly. Her tongue deepened the kiss, a possessive, dominant exploration. He felt a tremor go through her body, mirroring his own. This wasn't just a fight. This was foreplay, alien style, and he was losing the war against himself. Xylos pulled back slightly, her eyes glittering with triumph. "You taste of defiance, human," she whispered, her voice rough with escalating desire. And something else, something wild, untamed. Her hand, still on his spine, slid lower, pressing him harder against her. The friction was electric, sending jolts of pleasure and heat through him. "This is the contest, Kyle. Can your will withstand mine? Can your body deny what mine demands?" She began to move against him, slow, deliberate rotations of her hips, grinding against his. His breath hitched. He was no longer trying to escape. He was struggling against a different kind of surrender. His hands, which had been pressing against her shoulders in a futile attempt to push her away, slowly, involuntarily, moved. They wrapped around her, pulling her closer, clutching at the smooth, scaled skin of her back. You're insane," he gasped, his voice ragged. But his body betrayed him further, pressing into her, responding to the ancient primal dance she initiated. The heat, the scent, the raw power of her pressed against him. It was too much. The fight was over. He was surrendering. Not just his body, but his will. He was hers for the claiming. The mother's heart pounded, a deafening drumbeat, urging them on. The amber light flared, bathing them in a raw, primal glow as Xylos pushed him back onto the heated slab. This was the rite of unification. And Kale, the smart-ass scavenger, was about to be unified. Xylos pressed Kale back onto the warm slab, her body a heavy, glorious weight against his. He gasped, the impact jarring him. But the heat of her skin, the primal scent of her, had taken over. His earlier defiance crumbled under the sheer force of her desire, mirroring his own. Her eyes, glowing pools of liquid gold, never left his, a silent challenge and a promise of ultimate surrender. "You yield, Kale," she murmured, her voice thick with a guttural pleasure. Her hands, surprisingly gentle now, cradled his face, tilting it back. Her lips descended again, not a brutal assault this time, but a slow, devouring kiss that stole his breath. He could taste ozone, rock, and the musky sweetness that was uniquely her. His hands, still clutched to her back, tightened, pulling her impossibly closer. The fight was gone. Only a primal, desperate need remained. She shifted, straddling his hips, her powerful thighs pinning him. Kale felt the intimate pressure, the heat, the undeniable friction. He groaned, a low guttural sound torn from his throat. Her scales, surprisingly sensitive to touch, rasped against his skin, a foreign, intoxicating sensation. She moved, slow, deliberate, guiding them together. Kale arched against her, a desperate plea for more, for completion. He felt a sharp intake of breath from her as their bodies finally connected, a slow, deep invasion that made him cry out, a mix of pain and pure, unadulterated pleasure. "You are mine, human," she declared, her voice a raw, triumphant roar. Her hips began to move, a primal rhythm that drove them deeper, faster. Kyle clenched his teeth, his body seizing, a frantic, desperate response. Her muscles rippled under his hands, her back arching, her head thrown back. The amber light pulsed violently, reflecting in her shining scales, making her look like a creature of pure fire and ancient power. He met her rhythm, every thrust, every deep, grinding motion, a desperate effort to match her, to claim some part of this for himself. His hands moved from her back, exploring the curve of her waist, the flare of her hips. Her body was alien, but the sensations were universal, amplified, raw. Her breath came in ragged gasps, mingled with a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through his chest. She was a dominant warrior, yes, but in this moment, there was something else, something vulnerable, revealed in the depths of her golden eyes, a primal need that matched his own. The climax hit him like a physical blow, a wave of incandescent heat that ripped through his core. He cried out, his body convulsing, his grip on her tightening to the point of pain. As he shattered, he felt a sharp, intense pressure on his neck. Xylos bit him. Not a painful, tearing bite, but a firm, possessive clamp just beneath his ear. It sent a jolt of strange energy through him, a searing burn that quickly faded, replaced by a deep, resonant hum, almost like a vibration settling into his bones. He felt a sudden, inexplicable connection to her, a mental resonance that was more than just physical, a bond. Xylos shuddered, her own climax taking her, a low, keening cry escaping her lips. Her body went rigid, then slumped against his, heavy and sated. Her inner light flared one last time, illuminating the chamber in a blinding flash, before dimming to a soft, lingering glow. The bite mark on Kale's neck pulsed faintly, mirroring the dying light on her scales. He lay there, gasping for breath, his body spent, his mind reeling. The bond was there, he could feel it, a subtle humming connection to her thoughts, her emotions. He was claimed, not just by sex, but by something ancient and alien. The bond hummed, a persistent, unsettling presence in the back of Kale's mind. He lay there, tangled with Xylos on the warm slab, the amber light of the chamber fading to a dim, lingering glow. Her heavy arm was thrown over his chest, her breath deep and even against his neck. The bite mark throbbed, a dull ache that was somehow comforting. He could feel her content, a deep, satisfied hum that reverberated through the shared psychic link. My claimed. The thought, clear as day, resonated in his mind, not spoken but felt. Kyle shifted, carefully trying to extricate himself. He felt her immediate resistance, a subtle tightening of her muscles, a possessive squeeze. You rest. Your strength is expended. My needs are satisfied. For now. The unspoken words were still commanding, but laced with a new softness he hadn't heard before. He carefully eased himself out from under her arm, sitting up. His muscles protested, sore in places he hadn't known existed. He glanced at the bite mark in the faint light. It was small, a perfectly defined imprint of her teeth, and it still pulsed with a faint, internal glow that matched the dying light of the chamber. A brand. He was marked. Well, that was something, Kale muttered, rubbing his neck. So, is that your version of a wedding ring? A hickey that glows? Xylos stirred, her golden eyes opening slowly, focusing on him. She pushed herself up, sitting beside him, her scaled skin still shimmering with a faint inner light. She looked utterly sated, yet still formidable. A wedding ring? Your species' trinkets are quaint. This, she touched the mark on his neck, her fingers warm and surprisingly tender, is the bond, the mark of the rite of unification. It declares you as mine, not merely claimed, but woven into my essence. Our wills are now linked, Kyle. Her voice was still deep, but softer. A purr. You feel it, yes? Kale grunted. Feel it. Yeah, I feel it. It's like having a direct line to your brain, princess. And let me tell you, your internal monologue is a little bossy, and occasionally very horny. He tried for a smirk, but it felt weak. He was still reeling from the intensity of the experience and the baffling new connection. So what now? Do I get to wear a leash? Fetch your favorite alien chew toys? Or do we just chill here until the Elder Council decides I'm sufficiently unified? He still couldn't believe this was his life now. Marked, bonded, to an alien warrior empress. He was a scavenger, for crying out loud, not a goddamn consort. Xylos's lips twitched, a hint of amusement in her eyes. A leash? You truly misunderstand. You are not a pet, Kale. You are my claimed, my strength, my mate. She leaned closer, her scent filling his senses, overwhelming the lingering smell of ozone and lava. And your thoughts, they are as chaotic and defiant as your actions. I find it intriguing. Most Zealith minds are like still pools compared to yours. A constant torrent. It will take time to master. Kyle snorted. Master? Good luck with that. My mind is a chaotic mess on purpose. Keeps the bill collectors and the bad ideas from settling in for too long. He shook his head. So this bond thing, is it permanent? Because if I'm stuck with a psychic link to a giant glowing warrior, I'm going to need a hell of a lot more synthale. It is as permanent as the mother's molten heart, as binding as her very breath. The thought, clear and resonant, echoed in his mind. Xylos's voice, spoken aloud, confirmed it. The bond is eternal, Kyle. It cannot be broken, only strengthened, through shared trials, shared battles, shared pleasure. She paused, her eyes glinting. And as for your synthale, it will be provided. A small comfort for the challenges ahead. He blinked. Challenges? Plural? What challenges? I thought I just went through the main event. He pointed at the bite mark. I got the souvenir. What else do you want? Her expression hardened slightly. The Elder Council observes, the rite of unification for me was a display of power, my ability to claim, to choose a mate worthy of the prophecy. But for you, she gestured with a powerful sweep of her arm towards the hidden observation points, it was a test of your worth, and they are not yet convinced. A faint ripple of unease, barely perceptible, emanated from her through the bond. They believe you are too soft, too human, too loud. Too loud. So they want me to be a quiet little alien boy toy? Kale scoffed, a fresh wave of defiance rising. Not happening. I'm loud, I'm messy, and I talk back. If they want a silent partner, they should have chosen a rock. He glared at the invisible elders. What do they want? Another contest? Because I'm kinda tapped out on the sexual dominance ritual front for the moment. Xylos rose, her full height intimidating even in the dim light. They require proof, Kale. Proof that your defiance can be harnessed, that your chaotic nature can serve the Yelith, and proof that our bond, this unification, will bring strength, not weakness, to my claim. She extended a hand, her taloned fingers flexing. Come, my claimed. The elders await, and the true demonstration of our combined power begins now. You will stand with me. You will face them, and you will show them the strength of a bond born of fire and defiance. Kale stared at her hand, then at her glowing eyes, then at the pulsating mark on his neck. He was still pissed, still confused, but a strange sense of resignation settled over him. He had been captured, forced into a bizarre mating ritual, and now he was bonded psychically to a dominant alien warrior princess. He didn't know what the hell was going to happen next, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to be silent. Not ever. And maybe, just maybe, this insane, glowing, curvy alien had picked the right human after all. He took her hand. Fine, he grumbled. But if they make me sing Space Oddity, I'm blaming you. And I want that synthale. Immediately after we scare the pants off your creepy old council. He felt a flash of satisfaction from her through the bond. This was going to be an interesting relationship. And a very loud one. The elders. Xylos stood before them, Kyle at her side, the glow of the mark on his neck faintly visible in the dim, smoky chamber. The air here was colder, heavy with tradition and the scent of aged minerals. The Elder Council, ancient Zealith figures cloaked in dark, heavy robes, sat on elevated platforms, their many eyes fixed on Kyle. He felt their collective mental probes through the bond, cold, probing, judgmental. Too small, too soft. The strength is not apparent. Xylos's grip on his arm tightened, a possessive squeeze. Her mental voice, sharp and defiant, cut through the elder's probes. He is claimed. He is strong. His defiance is a blade, not a weakness. Outwardly, she remained stoic, regal. The rite of unification is complete, Xylos. One of the elders, a withered, ancient Xylith whose scales were gray with age, rumbled. Its voice was like grinding stone, yet the bond feels discordant, untamed. This outsider, he brings chaos, not order. Kyle snorted. Chaos is my middle name, Grandpa, and frankly your order looks pretty damn boring, and probably smells like mothballs. He ignored Xylos's mental warning. Silence, Kale. Do not provoke them directly. He couldn't help himself. He was Kyle. Xylos squeezed his arm, a signal. His spirit is untamed, Elder Thax. That is his strength. He bends to no will, save that which has earned his respect. He challenged me. He met my dominance. And he submitted not to weakness but to power, to the natural order of the Xylith. She looked at Kyle, a challenge in her golden eyes, then back at the elders. He carries my mark. He is mine. Her declaration was a physical presence, asserting ownership. Thax scoffed. A physical mark does not guarantee the spiritual bond, Xylos. The prophecies spoke of an outsider who would bring unity to the Xylith, not further division. Your choice. It is questioned. Questioned by whom? Kyle cut in, stepping forward slightly, despite Xylos's restraining grip. By a bunch of dusty old rocks who sit around judging other people's sex lives? Look, I'm not here to unify anything. I got trapped, taken, and then forced into a very intimate ritual. If you don't like it, maybe you should try dating apps next time. A collective gasp rippled through the elders. Thax's eyes, usually dull, flared with cold anger. Insolence! This is the Council of Elders. You stand before the very essence of the Xylith. Yeah, and you look like you need a nap and a hobby, Kyle retorted. He felt Xylos's suppressed fury and a strange, almost amused pride through the bond. She was surprised, maybe even impressed at his audacity. You are truly a fool, Kale, but a brave one. Xylos stepped forward, pulling Kale with her. He is my claimed. His words, though unpolished, speak a truth. He reflects the unyielding spirit of our lineage. He met my challenge. Now he will meet yours, not with submission, but with a defiance that serves, a strength that builds. She looked at Thax. You seek unity? He is unity. He has united with me and Xylith. If you reject him, you reject the bond. You reject my claim, you reject the prophecy itself. Her voice was a low growl, powerful and dangerous. This was her claiming him publicly, defying her own elders for him. Thax stared, his ancient form unmoving. The other elders murmured, their probes intensified, weighing Xylos's defiance. A risky move, a powerful one. Very well. Thax finally conceded, his voice grudging. The bond is acknowledged, but the outsider's spirit must be tempered. He must be shown the true path of the Xylith. He will accompany you, Xylos, on the quest for the Star Heart. If he proves his worth through shared trials, through shared sacrifice, then the prophecy will be fulfilled, and his presence will bring unity, or his defiance will shatter. Kyle blinked. Quest for the Star Heart? What the hell is that? Is it like a treasure hunt? Because I'm good at scavenging. But sacrifice doesn't sound like a good time. He felt a wave of resignation from Xylos. A faint sense of dread mingled with fierce resolve. Xylos turned, her golden eyes meeting his. It is a sacred quest, Kale, to retrieve a lost artifact that will restore the mother's waning energies. It is fraught with danger, with peril, with death. Many have tried, many have failed. She squeezed his arm again, her touch surprisingly comforting. But now we go together, as bonded, as claimed. Her lips curved in a predatory smile. And if your chaos can survive the perils of the void, then perhaps the elders will finally understand the true strength of a loud human and a thick alien warrior. Kyle sighed. Great. From sex slave to quest buddy. Just my luck. But a strange flicker of excitement, of challenge ignited within him. He was bonded. He was marked. He was claimed. And this terrifying, beautiful, infuriating alien warrior had just publicly staked her entire reputation on him. He wasn't going to let her down. Not entirely. All right, princess, lead the way. But seriously, I'm gonna need that synth ale. This whole destiny thing is making me thirsty. He met her gaze, his own eyes holding a new grudging respect. He was still a smartass, still a scavenger, but now he was her smartass scavenger. And maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing. The elders could probe all they wanted. He was Kale, and he was here to stay. The air in the elders' chamber remained heavy with the scent of ancient minerals and unspoken judgment, but a subtle shift had occurred. The elders, defeated for now, had given their grudging assent. The quest for the Star Heart was their ultimate test, a trial by fire that would either break the unholy bond between Kale and Xylos, or forge it into something unbreakable. Kale felt Xylos's quiet satisfaction through the bond, mingled with a stark awareness of the danger ahead. So, quest for the Star Heart, Kyle muttered as Xylos led him away from the council chamber, her stride long and purposeful. Sounds like something out of a bad holofilm. Is there a giant fire-breathing monster we have to kiss? Or just more glowing rocks and weird rituals? He rubbed the mark on his neck. It still pulsed, a constant reminder of their bond. Xylos glanced at him, a flicker of amusement in her golden eyes. No kissing of fire-breathing beasts, Kale, though some trials may feel as such. The Star Heart is not a glowing rock. It is the core of our ancestral world, lost to the void during the Great Calamity. It must be retrieved to rejuvenate the mother's molten heart, which now falters. Her tone was serious, bordering on reverent. It will be a perilous journey, through fractured space, through ancient forgotten territories. Fractured space. Great. Just what I needed. More things that can kill me, Kyle grumbled. Look, if we're doing this, I'm going to need my ship back, and my tools. I'm a mechanic, remember? I fix things. Maybe I can fix your waning mother's heart without having to go on a cosmic scavenger hunt. He still had a ship, or what was left of it. Maybe he could patch it up. Xylos stopped at the entrance to a vast, cavernous hangar. In the center, a sleek, predatory xylith vessel, all obsidian and jade scales, pulsed with a quiet power. Your ship is a wreck, human. A broken shard. This, she gestured to the Xylith vessel, is the Blade of Lumina. It will be our transport. And your tools. They will be provided. You may fix what needs fixing on board. She turned to him, her expression softening slightly. Your practical skills, Kale, are not dismissed. They are simply unconventional in the sacred quest, but perhaps useful. Kale walked towards the ship, running a hand over its smooth, cool hull. Unconventional, huh? That's what they said about my last hyperdrive jury rig, saved my ass multiple times. He looked back at her. So, about this bond thing. You feel me, I feel you. What does that mean for co-pilot duties? Am I going to hear you complaining about my flying while I'm trying to navigate an asteroid field? Xylos's lips twitched. Perhaps, or perhaps you will learn to quiet your mind when I need focus. The bond is for strength, Kyle, not distraction. Though I admit, she tilted her head, her gaze piercing. Your thoughts are never truly silent. A constant hum of interesting concepts. He snorted. Yeah, well, you're welcome. It's called creative problem solving. Something your elders clearly don't have. All that ritual and not enough elbow grease. He stepped into the ship, the interior surprisingly stark, yet functional. Control panels glowed with alien symbols. Okay, so my job is to fix stuff and not get us killed. And your job is, what? Look pretty and command things? She followed him into the cockpit, her tall form graceful in the confined space. My role is to lead, to navigate the forbidden paths, to ensure the prophecy is fulfilled. She settled into the pilot's seat, her movements fluid, and to protect my claimed, despite your loud mouth and irritating humor. Her golden eyes, however, held a warmth he hadn't seen before. The bond thrummed with a quiet satisfaction, a subtle acknowledgement of his defiance, and her acceptance of it. Irritating? That's just my charm, princess, Kale retorted, taking the co-pilot seat beside her. He leaned back, his eyes scanning the alien controls. He probably wouldn't understand any of it, but he'd figure it out. He always did. So, you're stuck with me, and I'm stuck with you. And we're going on a quest for a sparkly heart. Just another Tuesday, I guess. He looked at her, his expression softening. But seriously, Xylos, thanks. for not letting them chop me up, or whatever they were planning. She turned her head, meeting his gaze. A low, soft rumble, almost a purr, resonated through the bond. You are my strength, Kyle, my defiance. You challenge me, and that is a worth greater than any silence. Your spirit, it is loud, but it is true. Her hand reached out, her fingers resting on his forearm. Her scales were warm. We are bound, human. Our fates are now entwined, for better or worse, for life and for the prophecy. He held her gaze, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside him. Exasperation, grudging admiration, and a raw, undeniable connection. This wasn't the life he'd planned, not by a long shot, but with this dominant, curvy, terrifyingly beautiful alien warrior at his side, maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't be so bad. He squeezed her hand, a silent acknowledgement of their shared, chaotic future. For worse, probably, he muttered, a small, genuine smile finally touching his lips. But I'll take it, as long as there's synthale at the other end. And maybe, just maybe, a quiet corner where I can work on my ship without being stared at. He felt her laughter through the bond, a powerful, joyous resonance. The blade of Lumina hummed to life, its engines igniting, ready for the void. Their bond pulsed, a new, vibrant energy, as Kale and Xylos, the smart-ass scavenger and the dominant warrior, hurtled towards their uncertain, shared destiny.